We can join herself, but she want to send her obeisances
Oh,
and best wishes for you and everyone.
oh, that's very
For
kind.
the
Please
tour.
tell her we send her love.
What from me too. Yeah.
There's a lot of noise in the background there. Well, I'm great to be here with all of you. I see, of course, Chinmoy Prabhu's with us, our host, and Marie, Tungarasa, and Mahalakshmi. Are you joining for the first time? Well,
Yes. A friend of mine, I'm in the group that sends out these links, so I just thought I would check it out for the
okay.
first
Are
time.
you friend of Chintamani Chandra?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I've known her a long time.
Okay.
So
Awesome.
yeah, we've for a long time. So I've been in this group for I want to say a few years, but I just thought I would check it out today. So
Okay.
right.
Nice to have you checking it out. And where are you located?
I live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Pittsburgh. Is that no, Chinmoy, you weren't from Pittsburgh. Janardhan Maharaj, I think, is from Pittsburgh, right?
Really?
Maybe. I'm trying
Janardhan Maharaj? Really?
Yeah, he's one of our sannyasis. I think he might be from Pittsburgh.
I know who he is. I didn't realize he was from Pittsburgh. I know he was in Central and South America, wasn't he?
Oh, you know him from then. Wow.
Well, no, I don't know him from them. I just know that he had he was like a very influential individual.
Yeah,
in developmental time and
the head
Krishna
of
consciousness.
the South American preaching section. Yeah, he's
And
now
I listened to
in California. Sorry, what did you?
I know I would listen to his classes sometimes online, like a few years ago. I mean, like maybe 5 or 6 years ago, they were pre-pandemic. They were broadcasting. He would sometimes speak through the center in California, and I listened to his. So I've been like loosely, distantly affiliated with your Mat since probably 2003, probably, or maybe 2000, not 2003. Yeah, I mean, loosely since so maybe 2005. I know that in 2005 we were at the Rainbow Gathering together.
Oh, really? And who was that? Was Siddhanti Maharaj? Did you meet Siddhanti?
It was Simply Wonderful that was there, and we were with Krishna Kitchen.
Maybe you were there, Chinmoy Peru. Were you there? No, you were in India. Maybe
a long time ago.
Well, if it's 2005, I was probably somewhere in Europe or maybe California, but I don't think I went to that one. Wait, was that the one in Pennsylvania?
We were in Pennsylvania, and then we went to Colorado. It wasn't so I'm not sure if it was Steamboat or Pennsylvania, West Virginia. We went to a lot of different Rainbow Gatherings, but
I was the one in Pennsylvania, and Siddhanti Maharaj was there, and so was the one who organized it all.
Yeah.
I forgot his name. Nityahari.
Nityahari Das.
Yeah.
Nityahari Das. Yeah. I was there too. Not in Pennsylvania, but I was there in years before.
Yeah. So we went, we were there with the Krishna Kitchen, which was organized by my friend Nitai, and we would go back and forth between all the different camps. And so I spent time at the Krishna Place. It was big camp that year. I mean, there were so many devotees. And then we again went to Colorado and set up camp. And I thought Simply Wonderful was there that year. I think it was the following year, in 2000, and maybe that was 2006, maybe 2007. I'm sorry, the years are kind of, I would have to like lay out a timeline, so I'm not. But I had met one of your god sisters. Actually rode back with us to West Virginia, where we were living at the time, and she was there for a few days, and then she was like, come to California. And but I had met disciples of your Guru Maharaj previously at other places, in addition to prior to the Rainbow Gathering. And so but I, for whatever reason, didn't go. I stayed in Pennsylvania. So
Well, really happy to have you today with us. A big welcome.
Thank you. Thanks. I'm looking for. I thought I could just quietly sit back and like observe. I didn't
Oh, sorry.
anticipate
I like
speaking so
I
much.
like
but-
everyone to feel included, but sometimes it backfires. You know, not everyone.
Oh no, it's okay. I just thought I could, be a creeper on the wall. So, but I'm so nice to meet you. I've heard great things, and I'm looking forward to hearing you speak. So, thank you for everything.
Today's actually going to be our last meeting for a while. I'm traveling to India next Tuesday, for 6 weeks. So I'm happy that you could join today, Lakshmi. And welcome everyone else who's tuned in. Say Jai Dev is with us. Suyash Prabhu, who is a new father. He's tuning in from Mauritius, late night Mauritius. And Scarlett's with us, Sulalita Krishnandrani from Turkey, Ramananda Prabhu, San Jose, Abhishek Prabhu, just listening. Dana and Angel is with us. So welcome everyone. And I actually have a very exciting question from Marie. I'll bring it up. I have it in my messages. So today is for those who are joining. Oh, and that looks like Rupanuga Prabhu, and he's up in. He's got his name and numbers, but it looks like Rupanuga Prabhu in the dark there. Hari Bol. Let me see. I had I have a message here from Marie. So this is inspired by a discussion in our Thursday Bhagavad Gita group. And welcome to Ganga Leela, who just tuned in. If one's goal is to carry out one's dharma without attachment to the material results, how can one know that they are carrying out their dharma? If a task is before me, I understand that my dharma is probably to attempt the task. However, if I'm set the same or similar task over and over and over, and I get no closer to accomplishing the task, does there come a point where maybe my dharma is to realize that it is foolish to continue to do the task? At least without additional supports or strategies. Could my dharma, the actual task before me, be to choose to focus my efforts on other endeavors, at least until there's a reason to think that the task would actually be accomplished? Conventional wisdom would suggest that failed attempts are useful if they provide useful information on how to improve the chances of success the next time, but that if one is not able to glean such information from repeated failures, it is time to do something else entirely. This is a decision-making model based on outcomes. So if the unconventional wisdom we have been given is that we should decide how to act without attachments to the outcomes, how do we know when our task is to persevere and when our task is to refocus our efforts elsewhere? Very good question from Marie, who's super thoughtful, as you can tell. Where is Marie? She's just disappeared. Oh, there she is. Okay, you're there. Sorry. I think you have a different background today that's throwing me off. You're muted. You're muted. Okay, never mind.
Good. I just twisted my chair, and also I had my reading glasses
Yeah,
on.
you've got glasses on too. Yeah, normally you do. Yeah. And also I forgot to mention Kanu Priya Didi is also with us today. She's always with us, but today I thought we'd invite her over here. So beautiful question, and you've made a very good point. And the answer is, we're being trained in the school of Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj and Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj. And from them we can understand that the theme of our lives is progress. That is, and so actually our life constitutes constantly reassessing what is our dharma. It's something that is living, right, and changing and dynamic. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he very much appreciated this expression that Saraswati Thakur used to make at the end of his days. Religion is proper adjustment. I love that so much. There's so much that can be said. There's so much that that expression tells us. There's so many different angles in which we can appreciate that expression. Religion is proper adjustment. And so one of the things that it's telling us is that it's something dynamic. It's not a static thing. So progress is the theme of our life. This is something Srila Sridhar Maharaj speaks about a lot, and also the principle of gradation. That we always want to keep that in mind, that there is a gradation. And a progressive spiritual life means considering these two things, like where we are now and what's appropriate for me here and now, and what is the end goal, and how am I moving towards that, right? Because we were discussing this recently too, that like it's important we make a distinction between what's the ideal and what's actually appropriate for us here and now, right? And how are we slowly moving towards that in a way that is appropriate for me, right? So first off, we can understand this is going to be complicated. It's not going to be straightforward. It's not going to be straightforward, and we're not always going to know if we're right. But in this regard, I can put Srila Sridhar Maharaj actually pulls out these two lines from Bhagavad Gita, which are apparently contradictory, right? And the first line, it's in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Swadharme nidanam shreya paro dharmo. Is it paro bhayavaha? Saying that it is better to follow one's own duty, right? Even if one faces death and following one's own duty, that is better than to carry out another duty that is not appropriate for ourselves. So to stick to one's own duty, to stick to one's own path, that is the best. And then, but then what's the next line, that the next quote Srila Sridhar Maharaj pulls out to contrast this? Sarva, the famous verse of Bhagavad Gita, Sarva dharmam parityaja mamekam sharanam raja. Give, this is the last chapter, the last instruction of Gita. Give up everything and come to me. So these two instructions are given at different stages of instruction in Bhagavad Gita. And I pulled up a very nice quote from Srila Sridhar Maharaj where he's discussing this, and he harmonizes these two principles very beautifully. I'll read this. And this is published in our book, Centenary Anthology, for those who have that, which is also online. Here it is. It cannot be denied that a kind of energy is necessary to maintain one's present position. Some sort of energy is necessary for that. But then we are to give some extra push forwards in order to go ahead. And that is all important. A seeker after the truth will search after newer and newer planes, and that will be considered as living and accommodating. We are to become more and more accommodating, earnest, and eager. Swadharma, this is the quote I mentioned. This is from chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita. Swadharme nidanam shreya paradharmo bhayavaha. The advice is given, try to maintain your position even at the cost of your life. Then at the next point, go ahead, march on. Why was it first advised to maintain your present position? So that you may not fall back. But that does not mean you are not to make progress in the front. The whole point of that advice to maintain your position is to give yourself some strong foundation so you don't go backwards. But it doesn't mean you're not supposed to go forwards, right? At the right moment, right? In the appropriate circumstances. Sarva Dharma and Srila Sridhar Maharaj elsewhere, I believe, it's a nice example. I can't remember if it was exactly from Srila, but this example, like when you're moving upstairs, right? Before you take the next step, you have your other foot firmly rooted on the step before, right? And then you take the other foot up to go to the next step. It is like that, right? Give up all consideration. So then he's giving the next quote, Sarva Dharma Pritya Mamekam Sharanamraja, from the last chapter of Gita. Give up all considerations and take the risk of marching onwards. Only to help this was the first advice given. First, at any cost, you must maintain your position, and then march onwards. These are relative and absolute considerations. So this is it, right? It comes to the relative and the absolute. These are the two. This is what it comes down to. Understanding our relative position, what's appropriate for us in our relative position, and then what is the absolute position? What's the absolute ideal? And how can I slowly move towards that, right? These are relative and absolute considerations. A living spiritual conception must be of that type. The dire necessity is that in the background, we address the question of how to maintain and improve our present position. So this is it, right? And it's a tricky thing, right? Because it may not always be clear to us. And that is why we try to, we go on hearing, right? We go on in good association, we take advice when appropriate, we're always in a mood of prayer, right? And we have, main thing is we have that sincere spirit in our heart that we want to follow the path, right? We want to live according to the higher will. We have that sincere desire within our hearts. And the guidance will come, right? According to our necessity, revelation will come. Right? And going back to Bhagavad Gita, this is a very interesting point that Srila Sridhar Maharaj mentions. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and I believe he's quoting Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He says that if Arjuna is given that instruction at the end, right? Give up everything and come to me, right? And after that, he goes on with his duty as a kshatriya, as a warrior, to fight in the battle, right? But Srila Sridhar Maharaj mentions that if Uddhava, right? Uddhava is another associate of Krishna who's considered to be of a higher class, right? He's described as Krishna's best friends in Dwarka. He looks like Krishna. He has some connection also with the Vrindavan Leela. So it's mentioned that if Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentioned, Srila Sridhar Maharaj tells us that if Uddhava heard that same instruction of Sarva Dharmam Parityaja Mamekam Sharanamraja, give up everything and come to me, Uddhava would have taken that as an instruction to just give up the battle altogether. Like, oh, actually, I don't need to be doing this. Like, I can appreciate the point you made, Krishna, like it's my duty to fight in the war in this battle. But now you're actually telling me something higher. Forget the battle, just surrender to you. That's how Uddhava would have taken that. And he's considered to be a devotee of a higher standard, right? We've mentioned this before, you may recall that. So similarly, right, according to our realization, we will recognize, different stages of truth and different paths of progress. Like, there's a certain point where there's no right or wrong, right? It's just about gradation. There's just about higher and higher levels of truth, right? And that's ultimately what is wanted of us. This is what I feel really distinguishes Krishna consciousness from pretty much everything else, that it comes down to what you want, right? It's not about what's right or wrong is a lower understanding of religion, right? But what do you actually want? That's what it comes down to. How hungry are you? Because it's the plane of love, right? When you're dealing in a plane of love, the rules don't really matter anymore, but it's about pleasing the heart of your beloved, right? There are different offenses you can make, like so-called offenses you can make in love, which you can't really say are right or wrong, but it's just about the plane of the heart, right? So this is ultimately what is wanted of us, that we have our own hunger, right? Tacho lolium apimolium ekalam. Our own hunger is driving us. So yes, in our stage, we follow a regulated life of practice, right? Sadhana, of course, because our hearts are in, uncertain conditions, right? But ultimately, it's a matter of the heart, right? So yes, it can be a tricky thing, right? And yes, the safe path of progress is that we maintain our current position and we cultivate the ideal in our heart, right? In an intense and in a deep way. And if we feel at a certain point that there's some genuine call for us to take a leap, right? And to change our circumstances, change our duty in some way, then we may take that, right? But with caution. And so that general advice is given. It's like, stick to your current duty, right? But it is a dynamic, changing thing. But yes, it's a very nice point, and that's a question that that will be a part of a dynamic life, dynamic spiritual life, practicing life. There's one place where Srila Sridhar says, Krishna is always moving, right? And he used, where is Krishna now, right? Or there, he mentions the zigzag line of the truth, right? The zigzag line. It may not be moving in a straightforward way. We have to develop that inner eye to recognize, and that expression, right? Appreciating the spirit of the law rather than the letter of the law. That's always very helpful too in this regard, right? Trying to see where is the spirit of progress. Oh, and I meant to mention in the beginning, I forgot, this conversation in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Ramananda Sambad, right? This is also very relevant there. This whole idea, it's very central to that discussion of gradation and positive and progressive movement. Srila Sridhar Maharaj also uses this expression, progress means elimination and new acceptance. Elimination and new acceptance. This is progress. And but going back to that conversation, we see in that conversation that in a very systematic way, different levels of truth are being laid out, right? And Mahaprabhu is posing the question, please tell me what is the highest goal of life, and give evidence from scripture. And then Ramananda's putting forward the proposal, Mahaprabhu is rejecting. But it's all in a very systematic way, different stages of truth are being presented. And Mahaprabhu is saying, Eho Baya Age Kaha. This is external, go deeper. And then finally he comes to a point, Eho Hoy. Okay, this is all right. This is the foundation, this is the beginning. But Age Kaha, go, this is okay, but tell me more. Tell me more. And then, it may also be that in our individual practicing lives, it may not be that we are necessarily applying certain things in a manifest way. Say, for example, someone has, family responsibilities, work, and so on. But within their heart, they're cultivating these things. They're cultivating their appreciation. That is what is actually meaningful. That internally we are understanding, appreciating, cultivating different conceptions of truth and applying when and if appropriate. So everyone's circumstances are different. Does that answer your question? Do you want to add anything, Chinmoy Prabhu?
Well, oddly enough, I'm doing a video where Shri Maharaj talks about this exact thing. It
Oh,
cites
really?
cites the exact same slokas, exact same order, and I'll just read a little bit because I think it's
Okay,
really
nice.
yeah.
Wow.
Okay. Okay, first he cites that sloka Swadharma Nidanam Shreya, and he says, wherever you are at present, you try to maintain that. Just as a general will say, maintain your position to the soldiers. At the cost of your life, you must maintain your position. Then when the time will come, go forward. Do you follow? And he quotes again, Swadharma Nidanam Shreya. In Gita, and this is, I think this is very nice how he extracts this. Don't aspire after the position of others. Maintain your present position where by past action you have come. You maintain your position. It is better to die there. And as you were saying, he says, don't come back, but as you're saying, don't fall from that position. Then again, say, Sarvadharma Paradhyatyaja, give up all sort of position and come to me. Otherwise, what is progress? Progress, life, not to maintain one's own position eternally. Progress means go forward. Leave the form and go above. Find the highest position.
Nice. Beautiful.
Yeah, very nice.
Beautiful. Oh, Ganguly is saying define position. Well, position means not position in the sense of like some, prestige or whatever, or some formal position, not like that, but position in like an ontological sense, like what is our actual position, right? In terms of realization. What is our what is our stage of understanding, of realization? Does that make sense? Okay. And yeah, another thought that comes to mind is that, thank you so much, Cinmoy, that was wonderful and very encouraging. But one thought that also comes to mind, why it can be helpful, why that first advice is helpful, swadharme nidanam shreya, to stick to one's own duty, is that, we're faulty beings, right? And we're not necessarily very good at understanding like when and if it's appropriate for us to change our duty, right? Also, our motivation may not be sincere, may not be clean, right? So then it is safe, just stick to like what the first thing was, right? Just stick to your original position. And then if you're going to move to another level, to another duty, then you will think and take advice, and there will be great caution, not just, or like I was remembering this morning something Gurudev said once, our devotees are taking sannyas in the morning and getting married in the evening. Like there's a tendency to be very whimsical, right? Oh, I feel like doing this now. Oh, now I feel like doing this, right? It's like really think seriously about what's appropriate for you. Right? Like don't take it lightly, right? We will think very, very carefully, and we will consult with others and so on, right? If we're to take it's not a light matter to change one's duty, right? So that's why that first advice is helpful. It's making it heavier matter for us, right? Think carefully. Is this really appropriate? I always I often give this one example of Gurudev, and I always will remember it when once in his room, this one devotee, kind of eccentric devotee, and he had like maybe 4 kids, and they were kind of wild. This was in Navadvip in India, and they kind of were running around the temple, kind of wild, and this devotee very, very enthusiastic to do different things, and I happened to be there one afternoon, and he came in and he was telling our Gurudev about this book project, and he was so excited. Oh, I want to do this, and he asked our Gurudev, will you give your blessings? And our Gurudev looked at him, and And he said, I bless you to have another child. I bless you to have another child. He had this like big lofty service idea that he wanted to do, you know. And I felt like our Gurudev was saying, like try to give attention to the duty that's in front of you. Like take care of your family, take care of your children. You know, that's what's in front of you right now. You know, charity begins at home, right? That was an expression our Gurudev, like charity begins at home. So we want to give attention to what's needed in front of us. I don't know if this discussion is exactly pertinent to where you're coming from, Marie, but these are the topics that come out, you know. I hope some of it's relevant.
I'm actually just like I've thought of a couple questions that might work as a discernment tool, or well, a question and a couple examples, and I'm putting that in the chat.
Oh, okay.
But I was thinking that maybe the way to tell whether your dharma is to persevere or to change course is to ask, is continuing this path going to help me progress spiritually? So like if you're being if you notice that every time you fail you're handling it better, then that's like some definite emotional and spiritual maturing that's happening. So then it may make more sense to continue doing the thing, even though you're not actually getting any better at the thing, you know, because you're still getting better. But if you're getting more and more frustrated each time, and each time you feel, each time it takes you longer to get up and try again, and like maybe you're not ready for that perseverance lesson just yet. So maybe then it's time to do something completely different instead of sticking with the task you're repeatedly failing. So that's I think what I'm getting out of it.
Well, I mean, I feel one thing to remember is that really it's never exactly about just getting a particular task done, right? But there ultimately it's an evolution of consciousness, right? And so that, you know, that may involve repeatedly doing something, but that's not the goal, right? Actually, you know, it's like, for example, sometimes we may become expert in accomplishing some particular task, but we're treating everyone around us kind of roughly, right? And it's like, oh, you defeated the purpose of the whole thing. Like there are other principles like, you know, humility, tolerance, respect, like those are actually more important than getting the job done, right? So I mean, it's very difficult to give a straightforward answer because it really depends on every individual circumstances, right? But yes, there will be circumstances where it may feel like, oh, this is just turning into like a mouse and it's, what's it called, mouse and the wheel, right? Just spinning around round and round. This is just becoming sometimes it can even become an exercise in ego, like in pushing to make something happen, right? And then you just have to there's a point where you just have to let go, right? We're trying to always become aware of what is the higher will, right? And we saw our Gurudev moved like that. You know, Srila Sridhar, he gave this very nice explanation of karma once. He defined karma as self-assertion. Is this just me asserting my will, like projecting my will onto the environment? The spirit of the Vaishnavas is moving in harmony with that higher flow. So we're kind of trying to be alert. Oh, what's that higher movement? And we saw our Gurudev, sometimes he was very, very cautious in making decisions. Like he was waiting. Right? We saw that on a number of occasions. You know, like for example, the Vrindavan, the way he purchased the land for our temple in Vrindavan. You know, he was very, very cautious. first he bought a piece of land on the outskirts of the parikrama path, the main pilgrimage area on the outskirts, and he didn't want to be like in the center and most holy spots, and then he started construction there. It was a big storm that knocked it all down, and then he actually waited a few years, like, oh, that was my idea, but that wasn't the Lord's idea. That wasn't my Guru Maharaj's idea. And then after, and then he was thinking, I heard him when recording, it was like a year or two later, and he was musing over it. Like, oh, what is the Lord's will? I'm just waiting to see, right? And then he had this mystical phone call on a dead telephone that hadn't been working for weeks, and it was someone offering him, and also offering to put up the money for this very special piece of land right in the heart of Vrindavan, right? And he could understand, oh, this is the higher will, right? And there were many occasions we saw he was trying to read the environment, right? So like, what's the lesson for me? What's the movement of the higher will? We're trying to be awake to that, right? We're trying to be alert to that. And if we are sincere, the answer will come, and that will involve a lot of personal reflection, right? And observance of the environment. And so it's kind of impossible to give, one answer. But yes, it may be that the real answer is to just give it up. That may be what the lesson was. Let go. It's like also in a war, right? Like a good general knows when to give up, right? When to accept defeat. Right? Otherwise, it can just become like a meaningless exercise in ego, right? Or like you, Kanu Priya, mentioned this morning, it's some famous battle. In what country was it?
It's ancient Greek.
Greek civilization.
I don't know how to pronounce it in English. Pyrrhus.
Probably Marie knows it.
Pyrrhus victory when you lose more blood. But it meaning this victory doesn't have any meaning.
Right. He achieved a great victory, but at the cost of so much bloodshed. Then it's like, what's the point, right? So I see Scarlett has her hand raised.
Hare Krishna, and thank you very much for today. I still have somewhat difficulty to take the situation at that time with Arjuna's brother, everything what happened then, and take it as an example. You see, they did it this way, they did it this way, then I should use it as an example to do it myself. What I'm thinking, the time then, it was not yet really Kali Yuga yet. It was maybe in very, 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 very beginning of it, but not in the Kali Yuga. And the all people, everybody who has been mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, in Srimad Bhagavatam, they were exalted people. They had so many qualities that I can't even dream about it, that I have the minutest of that quality to say that because of that quality I should have that power or that strength to do that, to live by it. You know what I mean?
I don't understand so well, actually.
No?
Marie looks like she understands.
Yeah, you're grappling with how can I look at these pure souls and see anything that's applicable to my life, because
Exactly.
I'm not them.
Exactly.
And I'm living in a different environment. And
Exactly.
I think that it's important to remember that we don't have access to their real lives. We have access to the Leela. So the entire time these pure souls are doing things, they're doing it for us to some degree. So that means they're putting in what we need to learn, even though they may not need to learn it. Does that make sense? And we may not be able to live up to the ideals they're setting, but they're still showing us the pattern we should be attempting.
I'm sorry, you say they did it because of us? I thought everything was, they did it because of, to please Krishna, not us, right?
Yes, both. Krishna loves us. He wants us to grow. So he and his friends provide stories that will help us do that. It's not an either or. It isn't pie. You know, you don't take one slice out and then there's less of it. It's a both and.
Well, I definitely agree with that. But I'm not completely clear on what we're talking about. I'm sorry, Scarlett, can you tell me again?
I believe it's, I can never believe that I could have the minute strength or willing as Arjuna had, and I always in my understanding, I might have understood it wrong, which obviously I have done. I thought everything they did was to please Krishna, and even the Bhagavad Gita was not meant for us. It was just between Arjuna and Krishna. It was between them, conversation between them. But then Sanjay, who have with his power have heard it, and then it was he who tell it to Dhritarashtra, and then Vyasadev who wrote it. I don't something like that. Or it was Ganesh who wrote it. But anyway, it was not meant for us. In my understanding, the Bhagavad Gita was not meant for us. It was a conversation between them two. So how can I take it as it was as a teaching to us? Because Bhagavad Gita was a conversation between Krishna and Arjuna.
Here's your answer. Except I think it's backwards in your screen. Loving search for the lost servants. Loving search for the lost servant. There are two things. Search for Sri Krishna. Loving search for. So both things are going on, right? We're searching after Krishna, but Krishna is also searching after us. And Bhagavad Gita is for us, actually. It's not for Arjuna. Arjuna is already a liberated soul. But primarily Bhagavad Gita is for us. And Arjuna is kind of like a prompt. It is, we can think of it also as a part of their Leela. But mostly Arjuna is Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada. He gives the analogy. I've mentioned this before. He gives the analogy in a Vedic like household. If a mother-in-law, you know, in the traditional system, the new married couple, they move into the husband's house, right, family home, and the mother-in-law, she's meeting her new daughter-in-law, and she may be a little shy to give instructions to the daughter-in-law because they don't know each other very well. So what she may do is to give orders when she wants to give an instruction to her daughter-in-law. She will give the instruction to her own daughter, and while her daughter-in-law can hear. Right? So Swami Maharaj gives that analogy to explain Krishna is actually speaking to us, but he's telling through Arjuna, right? And Arjuna's kind of like, you know, perhaps under the influence of Yoga Maya, you know, a little forgetful of his position and asking some very basic questions for our sake. Krishna cares about us so much. As Marie was saying, Carla, Krishna loves us. And we see this repeated so many times, right? In the songs of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Ami Bina Bandhu Ar, Kea Che Tomar. Who is your friend but me? I'm your best friend. The Lord comes here for us, for our sake, right? And this beautiful song, Emana Dormati, right, is describing how the Lord is personally sending his own devotees, his own associates to help us, to give us the good news, right? So this we should all feel in a very personal way, like, you know, this is for us. You know, this is for you. This is for you personally. We should feel that. We should feel that there's so much love coming from that side. You know, we must believe that it is a very personal matter. And I'm not completely clear on some of the points that you and Marie were making, but one thing I think I caught from is that we may feel that we're hearing about these very great souls who don't really have much bearing upon our own lives. We're very far away. You know, but why do we have to compare ourselves so much? Like, why can't we just hear happily and be inspired? Like, that's one, like just developing appreciation for these things, that developing some attraction for these things, that in itself is so beautiful. Why do we have to put ourselves into it at all? Like, oh, how wonderful it is to hear the Leela of Mahaprabhu. How wonderful it is to hear the Leela of Krishna. How wonderful it is to hear about the great Vaishnava saints. Well, I don't need to put myself in the picture. I don't need to always compare myself. I'm just so ecstatic hearing about this. This is reality. We're living a concocted version of reality. You know, every morning we hear Chaitanya Charitamrita, and I just feel like I'm tuning in to the real, you know, reality TV. It's just so beautiful to hear. It may, like in a physical sense, in a tangible sense, it may be very far removed from my own plane of consciousness. You know, I might get obsessed about, you know, cleansing the liver or some stupid thing like that, you know. That's very like, okay, we have to do those things to maintain our health, but like that's just something I'm dealing with in this world. That's part of this world of, you know, karma and misconception and all these things, right? But there's a whole beautiful, permanent, eternal reality that's streaming, that's based on pure consciousness of dedication and love and relationship with Krishna. Let's just hear that. Let's just develop our appreciation for that. And that will automatically put everything into perspective for us, right? We don't always need to put ourselves into the picture. Just here, it's okay. I'm like I like that expression. I'm in the gutter, but I'm looking at the stars. I don't need to like put, oh no, what if I compare myself with that bright star? I don't need to do that. Like, let me just hear about how wonderful these great souls are. Oh, it's so ecstatic. Does that answer your question at all, Scarlett?
Thank you.
Welcome, Krishna Mohini, just tuned in from Spain, and also Vijay Nandan Somyashan tuned in earlier, and also Axel, Ramananda Prabhu, and Mahalakshmi had her hand raised earlier. Do you still want to share something, Mahalakshmi?
I could. You went to great extent to use the gutter analogy, so I don't want to backtrack. So, but I was thinking, I was just reading in the first canto of the Bhagavatam recently. It's chapter 15, where the Pandavas, after Krishna leaves the planet, the Pandavas are talking, and the purports by Swami Maharaj, I guess, he explains that Krishna, when he comes, he brings this whole entourage with him every time he appears. And but so then I was thinking about, this is like the lamentation of Arjuna when he's feeling separation from Krishna, and he's gone through all this realization in the Bhagavad Gita, where he's explaining that, you know, Krishna finally reveals himself to him as God, and Arjuna like falls down at his feet and says, "Oh my gosh, my Lord, I didn't know who you were. Now that I know, you have to forgive me for all these things." And so I became really confused, and that's so I was reading the Bhagavatam. I said, well, why now that after Krishna's left the planet, he's already revealed himself to him? Is this like, is Arjuna feeling the separation? And you might be able to answer this, because he now knows that that Krishna was God. You know, I mean, like, he would have known this in his previous, you know, but he remembered, because Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, many lives we've had together, I remember them all, but you don't remember them all, something like this. So I was thinking, the gopis, when Krishna, and the mother gopis and all the elderly gopis and the cowherd boys, when Krishna even just goes to the field for 20 minutes, they miss him. And I was thinking, why did Krishna have to leave the planet for Arjuna and Yudhisthira to like feel this note of separation? Did they feel that? Was that because they were friends? Because he was the guru? I'm sorry if this is too complicated of a question, but I was thinking of what this other person was saying about how you said not to insert yourself into these ideas. I think that the early part, Krishna's like, Arjuna is being instructed that this family, this stuff, even this, like, some of what your dharma, like your karma, everything is of the material plane, and if you surrender to me, then you're going to be better off, you know, elevating yourself. But why did Arjuna why do we see that he feels a separation when Krishna departs the planet? But do we know of experiences that other people besides the gopis and his parents and everybody had prior to? Is that too complicated? I'm sorry. Like prior to him like departing the planet and going back to the spiritual world? Like, I don't understand. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm just supposed to be bewildered. I'm sorry. Hare Krishna. Sorry.
I mean, I'm sure Arjuna did feel a lot of separation in other moments too. And perhaps it's being especially, you know, highlighted in that circumstance when Krishna has left the planet. Yeah, I mean, you brought up a lot of different points, you know, and I mean, you know, also, you know, the relationship that Krishna has with the gopis, and it's, you know, in the residents of Vrindavan, that's actually on a different platform. I mean, I actually, I don't know, I don't want to be offensive, but who am I? But for example, you're mentioning that in the beginning when you were speaking, you mentioned how Arjuna, he, you know, he's kind of like apologetic when he realizes that Krishna is God, and I'm not entirely clear on the context of what you're bringing that up, and maybe I wasn't paying attention, but I mean, like, actually in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Kaviraj Goswami, there's a certain point, maybe it's in that Ramananda Sambat also, in the 8th chapter, the Madhya Lila, he's making some comparison of different levels of devotion, right? And he actually points out, and, you know, and we're just repeating what we hear, you know, we're not in the position to make any comment ourselves, that, you know, Arjuna, his type of devotion, it is of a different level, because when he's faced with the majesty of Krishna, he's overcome by that, right? And his natural affection for Krishna is eclipsed by his awe and reverence. The Sanskrit word is the Aishvarya, right? It means like the majestic, lordly aspect, divine aspect of the Lord, right? But those of a deeper, higher standard of devotion, they never waver. And Kanu Priya Goswami actually he mentions that specifically, you know. And oh, I see Abhishek is mentioning an example. Right, the goal.
Again, I'm sorry if I offended you by asking.
No, you
such
didn't
a
offend me at all.
It's convoluted, but you know, I get it, and it's
No, you didn't offend me at all. And I'm just showing there are so many different points to be considered, and we don't want to like, conflate, you know, these different relationships and types of devotion. And
well, I feel like Arjuna. I mean, when you Mahabharata, you see that they're cousins, but they're friends, and you know, Krishna gives Subhadra to marry Arjuna, and they have this friendly relationship, and even in the purports they talk about it. And then they talk about how even like the charioteer wasn't seen as the highest, the highest cat, there's a lot there, but I just was thinking, oh, well, like previously, because Arjuna is like, you have fulfilled me, you've given me all my power. In the 15th chapter, he's explaining that all the power that he has, all the strength, everything that he has came from Krishna. And now Krishna's gone, so he's feeling that has left him. And so I didn't know if he switches from like fraternal relationship to Aishwarya in the Bhagavad Gita, and then if that relationship has transformed to that as Krishna is the sustainer.
There's a mix, right? There may be some mix, right? And you see, the Vrindavan mood is very distinct and very special. Not everyone has a place in Vrindavan. Vrindavan is the place of Jnana Shunya Bhakti, right? That is something that is very prominent in Vrindavan. Devotion that is free from awareness of Krishna's divinity, right? So that is something very prominent particularly in Vrindavan, and in other planes of devotion. Then there will be more of a mix, right? Sometimes leaning towards intimacy, sometimes there's the Aishwarya Gyan, right? The awareness of Krishna's divinity. So, but Vrindavan, that is a mood that is particularly pronounced, right? In Vrindavan. And I mean, going back to your original question, I would say that, no doubt Arjuna is feeling separation in many different moments from the Lord, but it is being particularly described, when Krishna leaves this world. And remember, everything is Leela, actually, also Krishna apparently leaving and all of this, that is all a show, and that, that is also to intensify the relationship, right? Krishna apparently leaving Vrindavan, that is also only to intensify the relationship. It is all actually a play of love, right? And our Param Guru Maharaj, Sridhar Maharaj, he had this wonderful expression, union and separation, right? Union and separation. There's something very profound that comes out of the hearts of the devotees in separation from Krishna. And this is one of the primary reasons why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, why Krishna chooses to appear as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because he's very curious about this. What does Radharani go through, right? In separation from Krishna. We hear of this, I'm reminded now of this one occasion we hear from Srila Sridhar Maharaj. He mentions this one occasion when, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he actually mentioned this in one talk, and it's described in the scriptures how, these are very high topics, but somehow we've ended up here. Krishna, Radharani, she becomes a little upset in the middle of the Rasa Leela because she feels like she's being neglected and not being given the attention she deserves from Krishna, and so she leaves, right? And then we hear Krishna goes after her because he's not satisfied in the midst of billions of gopis without the presence of Radharani. So he leaves to go after Radharani. And I believe it's mentioned he carries her for some time. And then suddenly he leaves her and he disappears. Right? And in Saraswati Thakur, he mentioned this in some talk, and one disciple present there asked Saraswati Thakur, oh, how could Krishna do that? Like he left the rasa dance to be with Radharani, and then suddenly he leaves her. Why did Krishna do this? It doesn't make sense. But Srila Saraswati Thakur, he is known for his intense devotion for Srimati Radharani, right? One of his internal names is Daita Das, right? Indicating his intimate relationship with Radha. He is fully on the side of Radha, right? He is a member of that camp, of the servitor group of Radharani. Srila Sridhar Maharaj mentions in one of his compositions about Saraswati Thakur that when he left this world, it was because Srimati Radharani could not tolerate his separation. Nayana Manjari, Nayana Mani Manjari, we're told this is the internal identity. But anyhow, so Saraswati Thakur, he became so angry just to hear that question, because he couldn't contemplate the fact that Radharani had been neglected by Krishna. And Saraswati Thakur became very angry to hear that. And he said, oh, where is your devotion? There's no devotion in this question. How can you even consider such a thing? He wouldn't go into it. He was so upset. But Srila Sridhar Maharaj was present there at that time. And like the perfect disciple, he thought, oh, how can I adjust this, right? And so he did some reading, and he found in the writings of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he explained and harmonized this point, saying that that Krishna, why did he disappear in that moment? Because he was so curious by what type of response Radharani would have, that her devotion was something beyond him, right? And that her devotion is something like an enigma to him, that her intense feeling is something more than what he has. And so he wanted to observe. So he disappeared he went from her side, but he was hiding and observing, right? And so this is also related with the origin of Gaura Tattva, right? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that Krishna is exploring that, right? What is coming out of the heart of the devotee in separation from Krishna? That is something very precious. So this is part of actually the eternal Leela between the Lord and his devotees, right? The Lord himself is intrigued by that. And the devotees, the intensity of their love is increasing, and ultimately the union is becoming more intense within that separation. And in fact, we have a very beautiful book which is highly recommended for every Gaudiya Vaishnava, this Pratana Jivanamrita. And this is something that is explored in some way within this book, this pastime between devotees of union and separation, right? And they're enhancing each other, the union and the separation. They are supporting one another. It is an eternal play between the Lord and his devotees. So we want to try to, we want to try to keep that spiritual vision, right? It is also mentioned, it is described, right, in Srimad Bhagavatam, how we don't even want to say it, right? But Krishna is apparently, S-H-O-T by an arrow, right? But is that actually what happens? Srila Sridhar Maharaj says it is like a show, like a drama. Is it possible for anyone to harm Krishna? It is part of his Leela. Right, Janma karma chame divyam evamyo veti tattva. It is all my birth, my activities. They are all divya. They're all divine. It is all leela, right? And ultimately, it is all the play between the Lord and his devotees. That is really what everything comes down to. So if Krishna, leaves his devotees, it is for that reason. It is part of the play of union and separation. We can understand like that. So I probably talked too much and gone far beyond my pay grade. I want to express my gratitude to Cinmoy Prabhu for hosting so kindly, and for all of yourselves for being such wonderful friends and participants. And I'm going to be traveling next Tuesday to India for 6 weeks. We have a very special pilgrimage planned. So these meetings will be on hold for a little while. And but yeah, I think most of you are in the WhatsApp groups, and everything's announced there. So we should be resuming the beginning of March.
Didi, and if it is possible in any way, maybe we can reorganize the time, if possible.
Oh, that's an idea.
Yeah.
That's a really nice idea, actually.
Yeah.
We could definitely do that.
Yeah, whenever you're available, whenever there's some good time for you, just let me know, and then we can broadcast it.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, maybe we could even do it a little spontaneous. I mean, we could say plan the day before or something.
Yep.
Like that. So we'll have to see how things go day by day. But yeah, definitely we're gonna, one of the reasons I'm going for a longer time. Last year I went for 3 weeks and it was just too packed and too intense. And so this year we're spacing things out a little bit. So I do hope to have a little bit of time, for other things. And so yeah, I love that idea, Prabhu. Thank you so much for suggesting it. Let's definitely try and plan that. I don't know if we're going to be able to work with all the time zones, because India's going the other way, right? But let's see. We'll try and keep it alive, for sure. Wonderful idea.
And even if people miss it, we still put it on YouTube.
Right. That's right. That's a good point. Yeah, it's all being. Yeah, it's so. Prabhu's putting everything on the Bhakti Connect YouTube channel. For those who don't know about, and other talks from other sannyasis are also going on there. Okay, well, please give me your blessings for our upcoming pilgrimage to India, going to take the foot dust of our gurus and the holy Dham.
Thank you very much for today.
Thank you all. Jai Shri Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami. Jai Shri Bhakti Daksha Chidhar Dev Goswami Maharaj. Jai all the assembled devotees, sincere seekers. Jai. Hari Ram Sankirtan. Jai. Gaur Premanande. Hari Bol.
Jai Vishakha Devi Dasi ki.
Lots of blessings for the trip. Take some
you.
of our dust and bring it to India dust. Add our dust to that dust.
We'll miss you, Gangalila. You were such a great member last year.
I'm just thinking about India a lot right now, actually, because coming up the year, I know you will have a wonderful time, because I know it was the first time and things are going to be different, and I'll be thinking of you lots. Send some pictures.
Yes, I was gonna mention that. Please try to keep us updated.
Okay.
Send some pictures and little blurbs and maybe WhatsApps, or we appreciate you so much, and I love you very much, and may you be safe and surrounded by Guru's grace with every step you take.
Thank you, Gangalila. Thank you all. Jai Gurudev.
How many people do you have coming, Vishakha? How many?
It's going to be 20 again. Yeah.
Nice.
It's been building up.
Nice.
And we have one Hungarian coming. We got his ticket booked yesterday. There'll be a few of us traveling from here in Hungary, and then in Delhi we're going to meet Jai Gauranga, who many of you know from USA, and
yes,
and another new devotee from Salt Lake, Sundari, took initiation, and also Vijayananda Somya Sham are also going to be joining again this year, and quite a few repeats will be coming again. and some new friends also. So
And Chintamani is coming.
Harmony's coming.
Oh.
And we have it's very international. We have a new Thai recruit coming.
Ooh.
Yeah. Recruited by Chintamani.
And I believe Evan's bringing a guest, isn't he?
Evan is bringing his new girlfriend.
Got a
Yeah.
girlfriend. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Lovely. And we have our new Japanese sister also coming, Ananda Moy. And we have some British gentlemen joining us. And yeah, it's a nice, very mixed kind of group. New devotees, old devotees, young devotees. So yeah, it's a nice, very diverse group. And we'll have a 24-hour train ride, Bhubaneswar to Delhi. It's going to be a real adventure.
Are you going to Eka Chakra? Because I really missed out
We're
on
going to
that.
go to Eka Chakra this time.
And Puri. We really missed out on Puri
Puri.
too.
We're going to go to Puri, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be coming next year.
All right. All right.
Live.
Have to start planning for 2025.
God willing. Krishna willing. Oh yeah, I already have somebody signed up to stay in my house, Dana K.
Oh really? Oh wow.
Well, we're just putting it out since yesterday, but yeah, why not?
All right. All right. Okay. Okay.
Lots of blessings. Thank you for all the time and all the wonderful teachings.
Love you, Gangalila.
Love you.
Okay. Jai Guru Dev.
Haribol.
Till next time.
Haribol.
Thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you, Prabhu. Dhanwas, everybody.
Pranams.